you know, in some ways, the river is a living thing.
Seeing the image of the watershed shift, there's story there.
So growing up in the city of Chelsea, I don't have that many memories of having access to the Chelsea Creek. And in fact, it wasn't until I was like 19 or 20 that I actually realized that Chelsea has such a diverse waterfront community, that we're surrounded by water on 3 sides. We're almost a peninsula, if you will.
We used to go over to Ryan Playground next to Shraff's. And we went over there one day, a few of us, and decided to explore the beach that was behind Shraff's at the time. And we found this old rowboat. We decided to go exploring, put the boat in the water, grabbed the 2x4, started paddling around, and we came up to the wall that makes up the boundary of the playground. We'd attempt to climb up the wall. Well, I had 1 foot in the wall, 1 foot in the water, and down I went into the drink. I was lucky that the boy still on the boat grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, pulled me back in, and I pushed my brand new bicycle home because I didn't want to ride it because I was so dirty, covered in grease and oil, and it took my mother 3 days to clean me, of really intense scrubbing.
This area is deep in history, and so is the river. And at times it was a dubious or dark history because it was so polluted. Thinking back as a kid, you didn't think much of the river unless you smelled it.
If there weren't for aerial photos, one would not even have known there was a river there. It was so overgrown. There was so much trash.
The rivers were the dumping grounds, and that became the sort of less desirable place to be. You know, there's a lot of changes have happened. Now the rivers are seen as like, oh, this is a place that I do want to be.
The river itself has become cleaner. It's, you know, so it's this thing that I feel really honored and privileged to be able to take care of.
The Clean Water Act has been passed. The court-ordered cleanup of Boston Harbor.
The amount of people who are now engaged and knowledgeable about the Chelsea Creek. For so many folks in the community, they didn't know it was a waterfront city, and so to get them engaged and to fight for access to the waterfront.
So now that it's clean and being maintained, there are activities along the river. It's just an incredible renaissance.
I like the birds and the wildlife that it brings. I feel like I can sit in my backyard and see so many different kinds of birds, and I know they're here because the water is here. And I love seeing people go back and forth on this like ancient waterway. It's like so cool.
One of the reasons I like to look at the river is because of all that's here, and you know, over the years I've taken lots of pictures out here. Even when I don't get a picture, as you know, it's just being out here and looking for them is incredibly relaxing and transporting.
The environment is really quite special. I mean, you can go out, you can walk in the park. There's some days that being in the park is the best part of the day.
We have, you know, all the biodiversity, all the beauty, all the potential for recreation, and this is just a wonderful amenity to have in the midst of a metropolitan area.
We've got, you know, green just far enough away from the highway that you can enjoy and hear the wind through the willows and the oaks. It's important space for people, and it's increasingly so. Some of the future work is to make sure that we can support and preserve the current diverse populations that are along our riverways in our towns, Somerville, Medford, but beyond, to be able to access this resource.
Opportunities to get close to the water's edge and to be in parks and open spaces and to breathe clean air and to be able to swim in or fish in or walk along our boat in.
You know, I hope in 50 years people aren't saying about us the things we're saying about the people who were here 50 years before us.
Look at this amazing resource that has been here that we could revitalize. I'd love to see the Mystic become a place for a lot of outdoor enjoyment, because I think that's what makes Medford and Arlington and the other towns, you know, that it runs through really special.
The real momentum around the Mystic River watershed, and I think that's something I hope that continues and builds momentum, because it's only good when these things happen and makes life a lot, the quality of life a lot better.
I would hope that it remains clean and even cleaner. In 20 years, I think because we're more enlightened now, I do think that it could flourish even more than it is now.